Joining us now is Marc, the Director of Strategic Communications for the 2020 Trump campaign. So, Marc, we see today that residents are turning out for the elections. That was something that's been a hotly contested subject over the past 24 hours. It looks like residents are now headed to the polls. Do you think that was the right move?
Well, thank goodness that we have the judiciary to decide these matters of law. And I'd point out that it's absolutely hilarious that while Democrats are spreading conspiracy theories about President Trump supposedly delaying the November election, which he has said he has no plan to do, they're actually howling and complaining that the governor of Wisconsin doesn't have the power to delay the election. So it's once again, it's a double standard for the media out there.
And I think it's worth pointing out, too, that the Wisconsin's Democratic governor was actually on board with holding these elections until the very last minute. There's him on tape several times agreeing with the Republican-led state legislature, kind of saying that we need to follow through with these elections right now. And even we hear former Vice President Joe Biden still making those claims, saying that we should still have these elections today. So it's kind of the idea that they want to paint this as a picture going one way, when in reality, it was a last-minute kind of hiccup thrown into this whole thing altogether. But moving forward, do you think that the states should have a unified response as to how they're going to hold these primary elections moving forward, or do you think that it should kind of vary state by state?
I think it should vary state by state. I mean, the states actually run the elections, and each state has differing needs. They have differing dates. Some states actually have, all of their candidates on the ballot during the primary. Some of them split them up, whether they're presidential or congressional versus local elections. And we should allow states to actually manage and continue to manage those elections. It's one of the great things about President Trump is that he believes in states' rights. He is someone who believes in the Constitution that leaves elections to the states to administer.
And I think that kind of overlaps with the idea that we're seeing right now with lockdowns. A lot of people, for example, calling on the Trump administration to impose a federal nationwide lockdown, and a lot of constitutional experts saying he can't do that. That's something up for the states. He does have the ability to kind of mediate and kind of make decisions over interstate travel and stuff like that. But when it comes to actually decisions within the states, that's something, as you were saying, the governor, state legislatures to make up for their own mind, and a lot of people saying that that should also be applied to the polls, such as on election day. But now moving ahead to the general election, this is something that is going to be a hotly contested topic, the idea of coronavirus. Do you think that when we get to the general election, it's going to be former Vice President Joe Biden, if we can assume that he's the nominee, kind of squaring up against President Trump regarding the response to the coronavirus outbreak?
Well, I think it's likely that the coronavirus will be something that will be in the campaign. It'll be something that's on the American people's minds. And what they will see is that we came through this together. And we see Democrat governors, Democrat lawmakers, Republican lawmakers coming together with President Trump to do the right thing. And hopefully, when we are able to get through these worst of the times that we're expected here in the next week or so, we'll be able to get this economy started. People will get back to work. We'll see this economy ramp right back up again like it did the first time. And then it'll be, what do we do going forward? And so that's the great thing about what we're seeing with President Trump's leadership, is that this is something we have not dealt with as a country in over 100 years. And so the framework that he's laying will be built upon moving forward. Hopefully, we'll have vaccines in the pipeline. We'll have the therapeutics in the pipeline, but we'll also have those distribution channels. FEMA will have that knowledge about what happens when we have a national and global epidemic or pandemic such as this, and how do we ramp up production and things that we can work on later on as we move forward, because we know at some point in the future something like this will happen again.
Yeah, and we can already see kind of the position that Democrats are looking to take against the president going to the general election. We see Priorities USA kind of launching this campaign ad where they're kind of taking the president's different rhetoric over the years and applying it to the situation at hand. They say that he called it a hoax. The president's supporters say he was calling the Democrats' politicization of this issue a hoax. So we kind of know what Democrats are going to be doing, but what is the president's or the Trump campaign's response to that going to the general election? Is it focusing on the anemic growth coming out of the last recession in 2008? Of course, where Joe Biden was in the administration. What is the Trump campaign's approach or response to that?
Well, I think the economy will speak for itself, and we'll be able to point to that growing economy again, getting people back to work. And when it comes to the actual preparation for the next type of issue like this, then we can start to set the stage. It's obviously been well documented that the Obama-Biden administration did not replenish our national stockpile. They did not do the basic things that needed to be done. The president can actually have a plan, work with Congress to make sure that those stockpiles are refilled. And everyone knows this is a president who's going to fight to bring jobs back from China, from overseas. And now we have a great rallying cry to do so, especially as it relates to medical equipment and pharmaceuticals. Our country has to have the ability to manufacture the things that keep it safe.
Yeah, and after the decision today by Wisconsin, it looks like we're about one step closer to getting to that general election matchup. That's the one that a lot of people are anticipating, of course, former Vice President Joe Biden against President Trump. So we might not have to wait too long to see how those two are going to go at it when it comes to this topic. But Marc Lauder, I really appreciate you coming on tonight. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.